It is the Chief Baseball Officer of the Boston Red Sox, Craig Breslow, who joins us this morning. Hey, Craig.
Hey, good morning.
Lucas Giolito, first start back last night. How did you think it went?
Yeah, I thought he threw the ball really, really well. Obviously, kept us in the game, gave us 6 innings. I thought he was really sharp. Fastball, changeup, command worked really, really well. And I think more than anything, it was great for him, great for us just to get him back on the mound.
Craig, you guys, when you look at where you are with runs as a team, pretty high. How do you feel the bullpen is doing, though? Because there are some games that you're losing leads.
Yeah, I mean, I think generally we've protected leads quite well. Obviously, this morning it's easy to talk about last night's game, but when we have a lead and we get the ball to guys like Whitlock and Slayton and Chapman, and there are others who are starting to emerge, we feel pretty good. And I think that's a credit to those guys. It's the usage and keeping them fresh, and it's our starters being able to pitch deep into games.
Craig, you guys are 2 games over 500, and Wiggy brings up last night. It was a close one there. You've had some close games, but a majority of them have been either you guys have crushed a team or a team has crushed you guys. What do you attribute to that disparity between leads and losses?
Disparity. Yes.
Disparity.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was our offense was such that to your point, we either scored a bunch of runs or it seemed like we didn't score any at all. I think there's been a consistency over the last couple of weeks where we're seeing what we're capable of, which is scoring runs in bunches. We've got guys that can get on base and run, and then the middle of the order that can hit the ball out of the park. And then we need to add some consistency to the rotation, and hopefully we can get guys like Tanner back on track. And Crochet has been pretty consistently really, really good. Bueller's been really good his last turns through, getting healthy and getting Bayo back and Giolito back. I think we believe going into the season that we should have an offense that was capable of putting up runs in bunches. And then I think the other thing is the defense has stabilized over the last couple of weeks, and that was something that we were not particularly proud of early on in the season.
Speaking of the defense, a guy that you brought in, Alex Bregman, to solidify that as third in the American League in hits, has been hitting the cover off the ball lately. I'm curious, Alex was very public, Alex Cora, in his desire to pursue Bregman. Did he convince you? How did that work this offseason that you guys ended up getting Bregman in here?
Yeah, no, I think when you have an opportunity to bring in a great player like Alex is, then you want to be as aggressive as you can in doing so. What Alex Cora had was a relationship with Bregman and experience with the type of leadership and influence he can have on the clubhouse. That's something that obviously we couldn't have been as familiar with, but in terms of evaluating the player, we saw that he was such a great fit, given the profile, given the defense, and then, the way that Alex could speak to, and I realize how confusing it is when we're talking about two Alexes, the way that Alex Cora could speak to, just the positive leadership and impact that he could have. So there was no convincing. It was more a matter of, Alex Cora being able to endorse all of those things, and then our needing to be aggressive while also being responsible and patient to see if we could bring these things together.
Craig, during my lead this morning, talked a little bit about Aaron Judge standing up for Jarren Duran and talking about how fans at times can step over the line with the things that they say. Having a little bit of time to reflect on what happened during that situation and in general. Do you feel like there's something that Major League Baseball needs to do, or is this, was the same kind of thing happening when you were playing? Where are you at it currently with fans?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, of course, what the fan did in Cleveland was completely unacceptable. We recognize that. The Guardians recognize that, and Major League Baseball recognizes that. And I think Jarren, in his comments, talked about how he felt supported, and he has the resources behind him, which is fantastic. And every situation that arises like this is a reminder of how important it is to bring this conversation about mental health and mental health struggles into the open, but also how much work there is to do, because it's very clearly still stigmatized. And so do I think that there are things that Major League Baseball can do and individual teams can do? Like, of course, there's always more that we can do, but to see players stand up for each other, I thought was really, really powerful, but especially a player who is as accomplished and visible as Aaron is.
Craig, I know that you were asked yesterday about guys like Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony and when they're going to get called up, and you said that it's a balancing act. Do you think that we will see them with the Red Sox this season?
I hate to put timelines on these things because I don't think it's fair to the players. I don't think it's fair to the organization, but Marcelo, Roman, and others are really talented players that we think are going to have a significant impact on our major league team. Exactly when that is really hard to know. But those guys have clear development goals that they're working through. They're making a ton of progress. And when the opportunity is right for them to impact our team, they'll be here.
Craig, I know it's still early in the season, but Casas continues to struggle. When do you as an organization start to feel like, okay, we might have to figure out what plan B is?
Yeah, we want to put the best team on the field that we possibly can, the one that gives us the best chance of winning games. And I think we've seen some signs from Tristan that things could be trending in the right direction over the last week and a half or so. It seems like there have been some in-game performance that has been encouraging, whether it's a couple hits the other night, a couple home runs on the homestand, but more than that, just about being on time and getting his best swing off, not allowing hittable pitches to pass by in the strike zone. We've seen some more of that, and so we're encouraged. But at the same time, our job is to put the best team on the field that we possibly can.
I want to give you the opportunity before you go to call me stupid. So we were talking earlier about the Dodgers, and some of us were complaining and were wildly concerned that this team is going to spend way over the cap and it's unfair to everybody else, and they are basically 500 their last 20 games. So is that are we stupid for worrying about that?
Well, I think the Dodgers are a really good team, and I think that will bear out throughout the season. They're a little bit banged up, and but it's true that the amount of money that you spend is not the perfect proxy for how good a team you're going to have, and that's baseball, and there's a ton of variance. Now, given that we play 162 games, for the most part, the best teams end up on top at the end of the season, so I think it's probably premature to characterize any teams at this point.
Craig, when do you have a pretty good understanding of your team? Is there a benchmark? Is there a number of games, analytic-wise, that you can say that you have an understanding? How many of these do we have to play before you see what the problems may be?
I think some of it depends on the track records of the players. We saw Bregman make a handful of errors in the first couple of weeks of the season and felt like that's not something that we expect to continue. And, it largely hasn't. And, you look at the start that Rafi got off to and figured like this guy is just too talented for this to continue. And he's hit the ball really, really hard over the last couple of days, and he's impacting games now with the bat. So a little bit of that depends on how much information you have going into this. But like I think at least a third of the season is reasonable to then start to draw some conclusions about, and it's not necessarily like what your team is, but it could be opportunities to improve. Where you start to see some diminished depth. When you start to think about what you might want to do as the trade deadline approaches.
What does analytics say about how many times you can straight steal home plate?
Undefined. There's as many times as you get guys on third, I guess. But no, what an exciting couple days, and Jared's obviously in particular. And I think it's a glimpse into the type of impact he can have on a game. And he's struggling a little bit going into that Cleveland series, particularly struggling against lefties, had a bunch of hits, got on base, and we saw what that could do to defenses.
Well, that's one area where you guys have really done a good job is with your speed on the base paths. It's interesting because you talk about guys having a track record. For a guy like Casas who doesn't really have much of a track record, how difficult is it to stay patient knowing that you're just looking at like, oh, he could have some good swings or he's hitting the ball hard even though he's not putting it into play? it has to be difficult to stay patient with a guy that you're starting to maybe just see some things that might not be leading to hits.
Yeah, and so we try to focus on some of the the underlying process and make sure that the work day to day is good and that we're seeing encouraging signs. But of course, it's hard to stay patient. It's hard to stay patient for all of us, Tristan included. Because we tend to want to react to what we saw in last night's game, and baseball's just the nature of baseball and the baseball season is such that that's not the best approach here. But that doesn't make it any easier.
All right, Craig, thanks for taking the time. We will talk to you again next week or whenever.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right, that is Craig Breslow, Chief Baseball Officer of the Boston Red Sox front office report.